Face to face with a monster, I like to think I could handle myself pretty well. Charm a vampire, sidestep a werewolf. But of all the horror archetypes, zombies have always scared me witless. Maybe it's because they're so unthinking, so unemotional. Maybe it's simply because there's so damn many of them.
Good morning and welcome. I'm Lynn Cullen. This is News Talk 1250 WTAE, and today a subject that most talk show hosts would avoid like the plague: death. Yeah, not exactly the kind of thing that, makes us feel good, makes us feel happy. As a matter of fact, it scares most of us half to death. That's why we want to talk about it. What do you think happens after it? Believe in heaven? Do you believe in hell? How do you want to die?
I work for a Pittsburgh advertising agency as a producer of television commercials. So I hired George Romero and his company to film my commercials for me. That's how I knew George. When I found out that he was going to do a feature film and he was looking for help from all of his friends to be extras, I volunteered. I took a weekend and spent at this abandoned farmhouse, and that's how I became a zombie.
I think there are a lot of people in Pittsburgh who have been zombies in my zombie films, and maybe they've gone on to be zombies in other people's zombie films. People seem to enjoy doing that.
George Romero and I and Richard Ritchie were sitting in a bar eating grilled provolone sandwiches and drinking beer, and we were kind of dissatisfied with the fickleness of our commercial clients, and we were waiting for a chance to make a feature movie anyway. And so I said, well, what if 10 of us got together and each of us put up maybe $600? We'd have $6,000. Could we make any kind of feature movie on that? George got all excited. Bang, we're going to make a movie.
Look at this thing. We still remember. I don't. I don't even remember what the man looks like.
Johnny, it takes you 5 minutes.
Yeah, 5 minutes to put the wreath on the grave and 6 hours to drive back and forth. Mother wants to remember, so we trot 200 miles into the country and she stays at home.
Well, we're here, John, all right?
Born to Talk, 333 WTAE.
Charles Dickens, when he came here and saw Pittsburgh for the first time, said, "My God, it's hell with the lid off." So maybe this is hell.
Stop it! You're ignorant.
They're coming for you, Barbara.
Stop it! You're acting like a child.
They're coming for you. Look, there comes one of them now.
There was a local television station running an exceptionally poor package of horror films made in Mexico, Attack of the Crab Monster or whatever. And our feeling was that if we couldn't do something that was at least as good as that, we might as well stick to TV commercials.
He'll hear you.
Here he comes now. I'm getting out of here.
Johnny! Oh! No! No! Johnny! Help me!
The scenes that make Night of the Living Dead work, or that sort of pull you in, are the opening sequence until she arrives at the house. I mean, first you're completely disoriented. You have no idea what's going on. There's somebody out there, and then it turns out to be more than one somebody who is all of a sudden hostile. Look very normal, but they're hostile. If Night of the Living Dead taps into fundamental fears that have nothing to do with society or the times, I think they probably are fear of the afterlife, fear of being isolated and alone, even in the community. Probably that's the biggest, I've often joked and said, the most frightening thing to me is the neighbors. Night of the Living Dead specifically is saying that the way you've been solving problems. You're not talking to each other. Media's not work. Electronic media doesn't work. People don't communicate with each other. If they only pulled together and decided to do one thing, even if it was one of the wrong things, because there's never any right or wrong move that anyone makes, really, when you think about it. It's just that no one ever talks about anything.
Anonymous, go ahead, please.
Hi, Lynn. Long-time listener, first-time caller. Consider myself an expert on death.
Why?
My mother 3 weeks ago after an acute illness, buried my husband 9 years ago after a 6-month acute illness, and buried my father 29 years ago after a chronic illness. I could not get up in the morning. I did not think they were together, happy, in heaven, and waiting for me to join them someday.
Okay. The fact that you have to believe this means that, in fact, you do believe this, or are you just agreeing to hoodwink yourself?
It's really confusing for me. Most of the time, I really believe it in my heart, and some of the time, I fake it till I make it. And that's how I live my life.
Okay. Well, I hope you're right, and I'm not alone in that hope. Thank you. Thank you.
Listen, I got a kid down there. She can't possibly, I couldn't bring her up here. She can't possibly take all the racket and those things smashing through the windows.
Well, you're her father. If you're stupid enough to go die in that trap, that's your business. However, I am not stupid enough to follow you. It is tough for the kid that old man is so stupid.
They're not out to screw the next guy. They just think they're right. Harry Cooper thinks he's right. And yeah, he's coming from a different place, and we're all rooting for Ben because Ben seems to be more like us. But really, Ben is wrong about the physical situation, and Harry's right. So I love to play with those kinds of ironies because that's what you find out as you go through life. I mean, there are no guarantees, no clear-cut situations. It's very rare that you meet a really evil person. It's very rare that you meet a saint. So.
In our project was a man who had a food purveying company, and one of his companies was a butcher shop. So we got beef bones, entrails, etc. from him that ended up in the scene that is what we referred to in the movie as the Last Supper.
Before that time, zombies weren't what I call heavyweight fright material like Frankenstein or the Wolfman. But now, when we made them flesh eaters, it gave them a whole new dimension. And then the fact that they didn't die, you know, it was like you had a kind of eternal life that nobody really wants.
Subconsciously, I remembered a Boris Karloff movie where he had been electrocuted. And he was dragging one leg, and one arm was limp and groping, and the face was contorted. I tried to do that, which became quite sore after a while doing it for all that time. And then I just tried to remember what it would be like to be very hungry.
Man, we had a ball making that movie, especially blowing up that truck. Everybody, you know, had their own way of dressing, or walking, their mannerisms. And I liked mine, and we'll walk up there, you know, with the makeup on and half goofed off there, almost like he was half drunk or something. And we'd do our zombie bit and just have a ball.
Good Lord.
Born to Talk, 333 WTAE.
I believe also, my belief is just as good as anybody else's, that when we're here on earth, we accumulate earnings towards heaven. In other words, we're paid, we earn approximately $14.75 a day for every day we live. It's like going into a supermarket. There's lines of people waiting to get into heaven. So when you go up to the cash register, they add up your sins, and if you don't have enough to pay for them, like, for example, let's say you stole a candy bar when you were a little kid.
Yeah, okay. I get the idea. Right. Well, may you have enough money in your pocket, darling. Okay?
Now, anything else you want to ask me?
No, I got to run. Okay. Good luck to you.
to seek human victims unless their bodies are first disposed of by cremation.
Everybody wants to believe in life after death. And I think Living Dead is the closest thing to that idea, where people do come back, so you get your wish for immortality, but they come back as horrifying things, creatures.
That makes you not want to come back.
Yeah, that's very difficult for people to handle, because they do want to believe that there is life after death, but they don't want to believe that it's monstrous.
Baby, it's Mommy. I heard.
I thought it would be very nice if Carl's daughter could work with him, and I suggested that she be used. And I think it was very nice for her and for him.
He told me that I would be playing zombie or ghoul, and that I'd be eating my father's arm and killing my mother. And I thought, great, sounds great.
There was no rating system at the time here, and so we were able to, basically the film went out unrated, and it was one of the films, I think, that one of probably half a dozen that made people complain and insist that the industry control itself.
Wants to know my death scene, where the blood is splattering on the wall. Now, what did you use? And it was Bosco chocolate syrup, which gave us the best look, the best texture, and I don't know why we thought it was better than Hershey's, but at the time, that's the decision we made.
I know that anyone that loves horror, that's the stuff you love. It doesn't gross you out, it makes you giggle. I mean, that's the old EC comic books. That's when you'd laugh. That's when you'd rejoice. You know, that's when you'd munch your candies or your pretzels or whatever even more vigorously when there was bleeding going on.
One of the key scenes in Night of the Living Dead is the scene where Johnny, the character that I play, comes back. It's the real signal that everything is lost. This is really, the people in the house are done for.
The initial thought is, my brother's back. You know, that first thought, he's back. He's alive, because I will him alive. I want him to be alive. Yet I see the dead in his eyes. And I know that there's no saving me, because not only was I going to die, but I was dying at the hand of a brother I loved.
I think horror is radical. I mean, particularly if you, it can take you into a completely new world, new place, and just rattle your cage that way and say, wait a minute, look at things differently. That shock of horror is what horror is about. But in most cases, people try to, at the end of the story, sort of bring everything back, and the girl gets the guy, and everything's fine, and things go on just the way they were, which is really why are we doing this in the first place? We don't want things the way they are, or we wouldn't be trying to shock you into an alternate place.
All right, Vince, hit him in the head, right between the eyes. Good shot. Okay, he's dead. Let's go get him. That's another one for the fire.
We always had that ending. It seemed like the only fitting ending. It was the only, it had to end that way. Even though the posse and the paramilitary crowd goes sort of rolling across the countryside, leaving our hero dead, we get the feeling that they're not going to win either. I mean, there's this new society coming. I mean, in the end, it's none of this is going to work, guys.
Your electronic town hall, 333 WTAE.
I was just thinking about death for some reason. I think what scares me about it is not the uncertainty of after it. I, too, am dubious about an afterlife that my meager imagination can comprehend, but it's the loneliness of it, the fact that it's done by yourself, and I don't want it to be painful.
Look more quickly.